There's no doubt about it. This is a conspiracy. That's right. I am a victim.
Yes, you watching the video. I'm pleased to have you. Please stay. I'll ask you one thing. While you watch this video, keep your ego in check. Your ego is there to protect you. Whenever you get defensive, it's your ego that has activated, so keep an open mind. Recently, I had the pleasure to rewatch Welcome to the N.H.K. I watched it for the first time when I was 17, and I always knew I wanted to speak about it. The show is an analysis of hikikomoris, essentially individuals, typically younger, who abandon society and completely cocoon themselves within their homes. The show details plenty of concepts, ideologies, and disorders commonly present in those who choose to live the sheltered lifestyle: nihilism, anxiety, ditheism, addiction, debating the meaning of existence, usual. While I watched, I noted all of these down, but I've always been fascinated, especially with the ego. Dual-edged sword of man. Almost every character introduced with extensive screen time has an admittedly poor living situation. Whether it's poverty, depression, loneliness, or anxiety, each character feels the same negative emotions, but with a different set of traumas. The term conspiracy is used frequently throughout the show. A scapegoat character is used to explain their miserable existence. Blaming others is a common coping mechanism that will keep you stagnant forever. Another negative strategy employed by the ego is the illusion of superiority. Humans seek the need to feel important or better than others. It's innate.
I had a part-time job to pay for this crap. I don't know how to put this. I guess you could call me... I am a hikikomori. And these bags are... well, look. Hentai games, figures, DVDs, and all sorts of anime-related junk.
Unwashed, anxious, and innate. Sato in a nutshell. If there's any type of person that puts down others, there are people like this. Misery loves company. How else could someone feel content with themselves if their company was successful? Throughout the anime, people look down on others to make themselves feel good. When was the first time you felt looked down upon, or looked down upon someone else? Most will respond with an age range around middle school or high school, for some as early as elementary school. Social comparison theory states humans have an innate drive to participate in comparing themselves to others to develop an understanding of their abilities and opinions. The problem is humans estimate their value based on labels, like a pawnbroker closely inspecting an item and returning to the seller with an estimate. The appraisals are almost always undervalued to make a profit, but you're just selling yourself short in your case. There are three primary ways the main character is used by those who look down upon him. Honestly, are there any good characters in this anime? What does it mean to be a good or bad person? This is a deeper question that has been debated forever. Broken people often seek more broken people to make themselves feel whole.
Don't you understand, Sato? They're using you for their own selfish needs. Society wants hikikomori like you to exist. It makes them secure. It gives them someone to look down on. Even if their lives are falling apart, they can always say, at least I'm better off than that guy.
Megumi Kobayashi doesn't appear until later in the anime, but her manipulation against Sato is the most apparent. Megumi brings Sato to her mentor. She promises he'll teach Sato how to accomplish all his dreams and live the life he's always wanted to. Once they arrive and Sato meets the so-called mentor,
to ask you a question. Who in this room dreams of driving their very own supercar?
he understands quickly this is a pyramid scheme. He quickly attempts to leave but is stopped in his tracks by Megumi. It isn't until here that we get a very intense but truthful dialogue. It is also where Megumi expresses her dark philosophy of the world, framing society as a ruthless competitive dog-eat-dog world where exercising power over other people is just necessary to succeed. To be directionless in life is very normal, but at the same time, if you dare express uncertainty in your future, you're treated as lesser. Megumi had an understanding that Sato was easy to take control of, and she abused that fact. The funny thing is, Megumi herself hasn't found good luck after high school, seeing as though she too got roped into the MLM scheme. A long-term friend who never truly had your best interest in mind. For Sato, this was Hitomi. The two met in high school. Fast forward to the timeline where the anime takes place, and Sato and Hitomi are reunited. Hitomi is a civil servant, but is not very enthused by her job. Her love life could be described similarly, unenthused and practically non-existent, seeing as though her boyfriend, while successful, is very distant due to the demands of his job. A tale as old as time, a touch-starved young woman pleading to her partner for affection. Sato and Hitomi have a bond on the basis that both their lives suck. They often joke about conspiracies being to blame for their poor circumstances. The thing is, Hitomi feeds Sato these stories of conspiracy, but she almost does it on purpose. She never offers Sato any help or even advice to better his life. She even enables him by putting no responsibility on his shoulders, blaming all his shortcomings on conspiracies. Hitomi is a woman who exhibits complete discontent with her life. On paper, she's successful, but an ever-growing void is expanding within her, slowly eclipsing her soul. Hitomi attaches herself to Sato for companionship. We know she's lonely. While watching, I asked myself this question: was she aware of her parasitic effect on Sato, or was she completely blind to how she was affecting him? Any doubt about Hitomi's true friendship with Sato was completely evaporated from my mind at about the halfway point in the series.
Next episode, welcome to the offline meeting.
Episode 12 is titled The Offline Meeting. It didn't take long before realizing offline meeting has a darker meaning, so dark that YouTube would take my ad revenue. If I had ads. Please subscribe. Shameless plug aside, Hitomi may be the worst, most wicked character in this anime. The offline meeting members decide to spend their final days on a remote island owned by one of the members. After arriving on the island, Sato realizes the purpose of the meeting. The bright blue sky turns dark, illuminated faintly by the stars and the moon, and the members head towards the cliff that they all intended on freeing themselves of the duties of their existence.
What the fuck was that, Kanye? I told you to do some shit for the...
Thankfully, Tomi's boyfriend, Yamazaki, and Miyazato talk them down, and the scene ends with Sato nearly being saved by two other members. Hitomi keeps her claws dug deep within Sato's mind. She presents herself as a helpless cat, but she truly is an apex predator. Anytime Hitomi crosses paths with Sato, she acts as if this is a chance of the two having a relationship. At one point, they had feelings for each other, but Hitomi still strings Sato along after all these years. She seeks him out at her lowest and ditches him at her best, and leads him on to make sure she always has someone to depend on for her emotional needs. Now, I'm not trying to exempt Sato from any responsibility. He is an adult male who can make his own decisions, but I do feel that Hitomi holds most of the responsibility. She saw someone clearly in a vulnerable position, and to an extent knew she was using him for her emotional needs, with no care of the effect on Sato.
I was proud probably the reason my father died too. I just know it. My stepfather was smart enough to try and get rid of me. But when he couldn't find a way, his luck went bad too. Once I started helping my aunt with her missionary work, that went downhill as well. Then she started fighting with my uncle, and now they're suffering too. All of that was my fault. I'm the worst. I'm not only useless, I'm a plague too. The world would be better off without me. Until now, I couldn't bring myself to admit that. That's why I planned my project, and that's when I met you.
Miyazaki Nakahara. She presents as a nosy girl, but with well intentions, but with too much time on her hands, and like no parental guidance at all. But we know what happens there, and we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Miyazaki meets Sato for the first time when her aunt knocks on his door. Sato, completely unaware, opens it. Miyazaki and her aunt were offering help to NEETs, seeing as Japan was experiencing a rise in young men choosing that lifestyle. Miyazaki immediately seeks interest in Sato, and like that, the anime's story was set in motion. In the beginning, Miyazaki's efforts seemed kind. I'd assume this was a cute slice-of-life anime. Slowly, though, Miyazaki becomes more possessive. Again, I thought this was because of romantic interest, and she's a young girl. Some episodes, though, hinted towards a mentor-to-lovers arc. But it was long before I truly understood the motivation of Miyazaki's seemingly innocent interest in Sato. Anytime Sato showed signs of improvement, Miyazaki would seem jealous, frankly. Most would agree that counselors or therapists would love seeing their clients improve and no longer need their services, but Miyazaki had different feelings. To make a long story short, the last few episodes are a race against time. Miyazaki has run away and gotten herself administered to the hospital. When Sato arrived at the hospital, she was gone, but left an encrypted note at her bedside. Sato's detective skills lead him to a mountainous cliff. The freshly undisturbed snow contrasts the violent waves below. The journey up is laced with signs to inspire the human soul to live another day. If you made it this far, it's fair to say you've made up your mind. It's only at the top where I get some of the best ending dialogue between two characters I've ever seen. Miyazaki explains her past, which up until now she keeps very close to her chest. Her stepfather swore loyalty to his booze. Miyazaki's mother, unable to cope with the abuse, by that very cliffside. Miyazaki's stepfather always reminded her she'd be nothing and useless. Throughout the anime, Miyazaki insists she only was helping Sato because of her project. She makes it clear that this project was her all along, to prove to herself she wasn't useless, that somebody, anybody, needed her.
Are these bad people? I mean, their actions are morally questionable for sure. Broken people seeking wholeness, financial gain, emotional support. I mean, everyone has. We're human, but the way they went about it, is it morally right? Welcome to the N.H.K. Explores the World of the Fragmented. All these people wanted something. Megumi to support herself and save her brother. Hitomi wanted to feel relief so great she would sacrifice her own life. Miyazaki to shed herself of the guilt of her mom. But funny enough, for someone with such low self-worth, Sato was truly the key to keep all these people afloat. They all thought so low of him, but they needed him so much. I think it's very reminiscent of the cover of the anime. If you see, it's the cover of Sato, and then like all the other characters are like reaching out to him. I think it's like, for someone who's, for the most part, the anime is almost multiple points. He's still loved and depended on by multiple people, no matter how low of himself he thinks. He still isn't. He's still a cog in the machine that keeps other people going, and that could be reason enough to live. I mean, it's something. If you can't live for yourself, I mean, it's recommended. It's sometimes necessary to live for another person. This is just a little bit I wanted to end or add at the end. This is off script, no script for this part. If you clicked off the video at this point, I mean, thanks for watching. I mean, it's watched pretty long. I just got a new mic, so Hopefully it sounds good. And enjoy the outro music, I guess. Or it might be already playing, I don't know, but enjoy it.